Thank you for watching QTV with the news. My name is Diana Sumbwe. We take a look at stories making headlines. The Anti-Corruption Commission has arrested Housing and Infrastructure Development Minister Ronald Chitotela for corruption. Britain has reinstated health funding to Zambia in recognition of financial reforms that have been put in place by government. And Health Minister Chitalu Chilufya says the National Health Insurance Scheme will be operational within the first quarter of 2019. And now the news in detail. The Anti-Corruption Commission has arrested Minister of Housing and Infrastructure Development Ronald Chitotela for corruption. In a statement, Anti-Corruption Commission Deputy Public Relations Manager Dorothy Mwanza says Mr. Chitotela, 47, has been charged with 2 counts of concealing property suspected of being proceeds of crime contrary to Section 71, subsection 1 of the Forfeiture of Proceeds of Crime Act No. 19 of 2010. Ms. Mwanza says details in the first count are that on unknown dates but between 1st day of July 2016 and the 30th day of October 2018 in Lusaka district, Mr. Chitotela did conceal a property, namely plot number 148 of Farm 50A, situated in Makeni, Lusaka, disguised in the names of Diris Mukange, property reasonably suspected of being proceeds of crime. She says details in the second count are that on dates unknown but between 1st day of July 2016 and the 30th day of October 2018 in Lusaka district, Mr. Chitotela did conceal a property, namely the remaining extent of subdivision A of plot 22183/M situated in Ibex Hill, Lusaka, disguised in the name of Idris Mukange, property reasonably suspected of being proceeds of crime. He has since been released on bond and will appear in court soon. Health Minister Chitalu Chilufya says the National Health Insurance Scheme will be operational within the first quarter of 2019. Speaking at the Ministry of Health annual consultative meeting in Lusaka, attended by heads of missions and ambassadors accredited to Zambia, Dr. Chilufya says a board which will help implement programs of the National Health Insurance will be constituted in 2 weeks' time. He says his ministry will this year focus on ensuring a sound financing mechanism for the health sector. Dr. Chilufya says in order to attain the vision of universal health insurance coverage, there is need for adequate financing. Dr. Chilufya says that despite various health gains recorded in the past year, the health sector still faces challenges which include inadequate human resource for health infrastructure, transport and financial resources to support the scaling up of critical high-impact interventions.
Healthcare financing. We set out to introduce the National Health Insurance Fund, and last year the milestone was that we passed in Parliament a law, the National Health Insurance Act No. 2 of 2018. In Q1 of 2019, the National Health Insurance Fund will be operational, and again within the next 2 weeks, the board for the National Health Insurance Fund will be ratified by Cabinet, and this will commence the activities under the National Health Insurance. We will roll out insurance to all citizens, and like I said, this will remove the burden of out-of-pocket payments and will remove a critical barrier in health system delivery. So at the end of year 2 and commencing year 3, our National Health Insurance Program is beginning. On healthcare financing, our student placement fees have been revised in our critical institutions. While we want to support private sector involvement in training, we want to partner with them to raise resources as they place their students in our facilities. So those resources go towards healthcare financing. Your Excellencies, there is progress in the execution of the National Strategic Plan as outlined by the key indicators in the key legacy targets we set. We are determined in this year to increase our efforts in our journey towards universal health coverage. This will only be attained with strengthened partnerships. Our universal health coverage agenda will only thrive on a strong coalition. We'll need to work together to address the challenges that we face.
And speaking on behalf of cooperating partners, Swedish Ambassador to Zambia Henrik Sendrin welcomed the enactment of the National Health Insurance Bill, which he says they look forward to its implementation. He, however, expressed concern over the reduced government funding towards primary health care.
We appreciate the formation of the Reproductive, Maternal, Newborn, Child and Adolescent Health Steering Committee, together with the ICC, to streamline and coordinate efforts towards the realization of health goals for women, newborn, children and adolescents. Cooperating partners also welcome the enactment of national health insurance legislation that will facilitate progress towards attainment of universal health coverage. We look forward to its implementation this year and to continued dialogue on the steps that need to be taken in order to achieve successful rollout of the scheme. We are delighted about the completion of the 5 MSL regional hubs that has allowed for more efficient last-mile distribution of life-saving essential medicines and commodities. The finalization of the health sector supply chain strategy and the remarkable progress that has been made towards achieving HIV epidemic control by the year 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, 2019 will be a challenging year for Zambia and the Zambian health sector, given the current economic situation with a high debt burden, including the drug debt. A reduced resource envelope will negatively impact the health sector's ability to deliver on the goals of the National Health Strategic Plan, ultimately affecting the health of ordinary Zambians.
The United Kingdom has reinstated health funding to Zambia in recognition of the financial reforms that have been put in place by the Zambian government through the Ministry of Health. British High Commissioner to Zambia Fergus Cochrane-Dyett announced during the Ministry of Health annual consultant meeting held in Lusaka that the resumption of systems follows the suspension of funds which were communicated to the Ministry of Health last year in August. Mr. Cochrane-Dyett says the UK government is pleased to have resumed its financial support to the Ministry of Health, however cautioned the ministry on the need to be prudent and transparent in the use of donor funds. In August last year, Britain froze its entire funding program to Zambia amid allegations of fraud and embezzlement of funds by government officials in ministries it offered support.
The UK, we are glad that we will be able to resume some of our support to the health sector, and we had a discussion with the Permanent Secretary about this recently. And we'd like to increase the focus of the programme on family planning and adolescence, and to support a responsible transition from other components. This resumption of assistance follows the suspension of funds, which we communicated to the Ministry earlier last year, and that was a result of serious concerns about the fiduciary risks of funding to government, given alleged fraud in the education and social credit transfer sectors. So I'm very pleased that we're now resuming our support, but obviously this is a concern to the UK and I think to other cooperating partners around the fiduciary risks of giving funding direct to government. So my question is, what assurances are you able to give to set our minds at rest on that particular issue? Thank you.
Ministry of Defense Permanent Secretary Stodi Mwale has directed defense chiefs to investigate officers who are disloyal to the president. His directive comes barely 24 hours after President Edgar Lungu revealed that some officers in the security wings have been sending their curriculum vitae to the opposition for possible promotion in the event of regime change. Mr. Mwale says it will be difficult to achieve the ministry's plan for 2019 working with indisciplined officers. Speaking at a media briefing, Mr. Mwale has urged defense forces to exhibit high levels of discipline. He has emphasized the need for military personnel to be professional and avoid engaging in politics.
You know, being disloyal One, it is something that cannot be measured. As a military personnel, disloyalty comes even in your next office. If you are not heading to directives, that's being disloyal. If you are not working, to some expectations, that's being disloyal. If you're not, performing to expectations, that's being disloyal. Engaging yourselves in politics, that's not allowed at all. It's not allowed at all. And by the way, the number two questions, politics, those who are involved in engaging themselves in politics, it is almost the same as anchoring on the disloyalty. So disloyalty in military, it might even be more defined than the disloyalty that encompasses the civil servants. Disloyalty in military terms, even when you are not respecting the next command, the next boss of yourself, that's being disloyal, and this is why we are saying that is not going to be allowed. And for those who engage themselves in politics, the punishment is dismissal. Dismissal without explanations. We are not allowed, and this also comes to the civil servants. Involving in active politics, you'd be dismissed. But in military terms, it's even worse. You would definitely be dismissed.
Meanwhile, Mr. Mali has declared the Defense Forces ready to mitigate any natural disaster that may occur in the country. He says that with or without funds, the Defense Forces are ready to respond to calamities.
We as Ministry of Defense, like from the word go, historically, we have responded. This time around, as a defense force who equally participate, that is not only to leave it for Zambia Army in cases where bridges are washed away, or Zambia National Service, but I'm engaging all the three services as a defense force to see to it that we help our colleagues to mitigate the national disasters. Going forward, we have agreed with PS, the national coordinator, disaster, to mobilize the buried bridges so that these could be collected and put in an area where it is easily accessible, so that we can respond from the disasters of the bridges being washed away. Because in northern province, in Muchinga, our colleagues there, they are fortunate to receive heavy rainfall, which we are not receiving in Lusaka. But again, it has come with a lot of difficulties to our colleagues there, where most of the bridges are washed away. So as the Ministry of Defense, as a defense force now, we are ready to move in so that we can mitigate. So as Minister of Defense, like I've said, we are aiming this year to be practical, to be a practical year, no theories. 2019, 2020, we need to be practically proven so that we can try to help government, try to help some other ministries who are having projects which have not completed.
The Timber Association of Zambia has complained that despite some of its members having issued with concession licenses by government, they have not been allowed to export their Mukula logs. Timber Association President Charles Masange says some of their members have since been arrested because they have failed to pay back the loans they acquired to obtain their licenses. In a walk-in interview with QTV News, Mr. Masange says government should therefore compensate the affected members for the loss they have incurred. He says it is unfortunate that while licensed members of the Timber Association of Zambia are not being allowed to export their products, those without licenses are exporting their timber, a situation he has described as fraud.
You can't ignore this matter. It's a serious matter. Because this money, this is a government receipt. This man has gone into Control 99 from a pocket of a poor person, a poor Zambian. But unfortunately, we are seeing containers of Mukula, some being packed at Lusaka North Zafiko, some right now being loaded in Mansa, in other parts of the country, without following the Forest Act, the law for this country. One, government losing money which was supposed to realize through production, license, through conveyance license, through export permit license. They are not paying duty. This is fraud of a first degree. It's fraud of a first degree, which I, as a Christian, a Catholic Christian, I can't allow this to continue. This is my rosary. I go to Catholic Church at St. Ignatius, a member of the liturgical committee. I can't allow this. Fortunately enough, I am happy that they have given the Secretary to Cabinet, Mr. Kangwa, who is our Eucharist Minister, St. Ignatius. I expect our brother to help the government to run properly. Of course, I appreciate that. The Secretary to Cabinet, Mr. Roland Misiska, accept our concept of the timber auction floor and called me to present this concept to the government, which is the alternative which were proposed to the government, which came out of this budget of 2019-2018 budget. We expected government to immediately implement this section 128 of the budget, where the government is saying establishment of public auction mechanism for timber and lift of the ban of timber. Why are you dragging your feet, government officers who have been given this assignment? Please, we don't want a situation where our own people in government can be used by foreigners.
And a concession license holder from Mwense district in Napula province, Adam Bota, has wondered why they are not being allowed to export timber when they followed the due process in acquiring the licenses.
We are very glad that a number of aspects which were presented in the budget are being implemented. Our appeal is, what is hindering the implementation of this aspect with regard to the timber sector? Because given this is actually implemented, it will alleviate a lot of aspects from the very grassroots where we are operating from up to contributing to the GDP at a national level, such that our concern does not only relate to us as timber dealers or as concession holders. It affects transporters, it affects the people in the rural setting who are equally supposed to receive a benefit in the harvest and that legally harvested timber, which would ultimately contribute to a good management and a sustainable management of the Forest Act, as well as the benefits being reduced to the most indigenous of people that are involved and have been involved over a long period of time in seeing this lucrative and value product amongst our natural resources.
Another concession license holder from the Copperbelt, Kabaso Mlenga, has lamented that because of not being allowed to export the Mukula logs, he is now failing to meet his family's daily needs. Meanwhile, Iron and Construction Enterprise Director Aaron Mwape has called on government to create a conducive environment in the private sector if the private sector is to thrive in the country.
Since we bought this production, wadi tukanyoka tusende. Hello, ishindarama twakongwerefi teshesu hiyo. Abene bandarama nabo bale tushupa bali twingisha mapromuma sales twafuma akwatira mona stroke. Nomba turechita shani pali ififi paper. Bantu boto alingisha mwendarama. Nomba katushoko turefika because bambya bashikoita mapaper abena bale senda. Ifofo bakweta mapaper twalishita ma production na ma concession license na tukwata bale tukanyoka tusende nomba shifu turechita.
But the other challenge is that we have deprived, or the government have deprived, the poorest of the poor, whom we employed in rural areas. So this is our very much appeal to the government, so that they can consider maybe if they can consider letting us sell these products, the same Mukula products which we paid for, because the government has received the money and the money has gone into the government coffers. If they can allow us pay, sell on our only free.
Unions at the University of Zambia say they are currently unable to guarantee any industrial harmony at the learning institution, considering the many unattended to issues relating to welfare of their members. And the unions have accused the Ministry of Higher Education of micromanaging public universities by directly issuing instructions and policy changes to management, as opposed to challenging the same through university councils. Speaking on behalf of the three unions at the institution, namely Unzalaru, Unza Prosu and Unzawu, Unzalaru Secretary General Dr. Kelvin Mambwe says the unions have for the past 3 years desisted to engage in activities which could have resulted in major industrial unrest, but with the issues currently pertaining, they are unable to avoid industrial unrest. Dr. Mambwe says it has become like a constitutional compliance act by the Ministry of Finance through the Ministry of Higher Education to delay releasing the monthly grant, which contributes only 30% to the payroll cost. He has disclosed that as of 5th February 2019, the January salaries have not been paid due to non-remittance of the grant by the government and UNZA management. He has further disclosed that the University of Zambia owes retirees, deceased and serving employees a total of about 655.9 million kwacha, according to the financing strategy, should be settled within a period of 3 years starting 2018, but that to date only 23 million kwacha has been released.
Involvement in some operational matters of the institution contrary to good corporate governance practices. As the public may wish to know, the Invest Act of 2013 prescribes how universities are supposed to be managed, and among other things, it provides for the appointment of invest councils, which are equivalent to boards in the corporate world, which is a policy-making body. The council, in turn, appoints management, and the Ministry of Higher Education appoints council, or simply ratifies. The relationship of the ministry and UNZA is similar to a shareholder and a company. What is currently happening is that the ministry is micromanaging public universities by directly issuing instructions and policy changes to management, as opposed to channel the same through Invest Council. For example, the ministry currently dictates and provides negotiations parameters directly to management without knowledge of councils, which is in itself a breach of the law. This breach was brought to their attention but ignored with impunity. So you can see how bad, how dire the situation has become, where government wants to micromanage the institution against what is provided for in the law. It should be noted that we, the trade unions at the University of Zambia, have for the past 3 years desisted to engage ourselves in activities which could have resulted in major industrial unrest. But with the issues highlighted above, we are now unable to guarantee any industrial harmony at this institution. In fact, we should warn management that if they are not going to correct some of these issues that we have highlighted, they shouldn't even think of asking returning.
It's from ZESCO, Lusaka Water and Storage Company and the Lusaka City Council on Tuesday morning stormed the local authority superannuation fund LASF offices located on Bembela Road in Lusaka, demanding payment of their terminal benefits. The retirees have accused government of paying a blind eye to their welfare. Speaking to QTV News, the retirees, some of whom have stayed for over 8 years without receiving their terminal benefits, explained that efforts to get the money they work for has proved to be a challenge, owing to what they say is the uncaring attitude of government. The retirees have disclosed that over 400 million kwacha is owed to them, and that government has since 2017 only released about 150 million kwacha. The retirees who only dispersed after they were advised through their leaders to report to the Ministry of Finance on Monday for a meeting with Minister of Finance Margaret Manakatwe also complained of being underpaid as a result of anomalies in the calculation of their benefits.
So far, nothing is coming from Ministry of Finance because they are saying that the money has to come from a bank and they have no control over the bank. And we have to wait for all the processes that are going to take place in the bank before the money can be released to them, for them to send that money to LASIF, who are going to pay us that money. As it is now, this money, it has taken long. A lot of our members, most of them have actually died. And there is a very big complaint that we really need to have this money because we can't just afford to lose it.
When we go to Ministry of Finance, we have followed all the channels from the lowest rank up to Ministry of Finance, whom we are supposed to see her today. He's not in the office for the whole week.
Our fight is the same. We are fighting for the monies that have taken more than 12 years in some cases. Most of our colleagues have died. So our appeal is that we need this money to be paid to us. Since most of our colleagues are hospitalized, some of them they've passed on, some of them they've got their children who are supposed to be at universities or other schools. They failed to pay for this. For the what? Some of them are farmers. They need to buy farming implements and farming equipment.
Government has expressed concern with the manner social protection programs have been implemented. Permanent Secretary in the Office of the Vice President, Stephen Mwansa, has observed that some social protection programs being implemented have recorded little impact due to the manner in which the resources have been spread. Speaking at the launch of Integrated Framework of Basic Social Protection Programs, Mr. Mwansa said the implementation of the current and future interventions under the Poverty and Vulnerability Reduction Cluster will be delivered anchored on structures, mechanisms and systems that underpin principles of integration. He says the framework is developed with the overall aim of improving coherence and creating linkages within social protection programs as well as interventions in other policy areas, thereby improving synergies across social protection line ministries and ultimately enhancing impact of government interventions. Mr. Mwansa, who read a speech on behalf of the Minister of Community Development and Social Services, Olipa Piri, reiterated government's determination to fight poverty levels in the country.
This type of intervention will be scaled up to other districts in due course. And if you remember the performance, that was what it was. Get the grant and scale up, do better. Mr. Jerry, Mr. Jerry was showing how it should be done. And the other women belong to the group that always believes in Boma and Adek. Ladies and gentlemen, for some time now, social protection programs have been implemented with very little recorded impact. This has been partly because of spreading resources thinly, as well as implementing programs in an uncoordinated and fragmented manner. In responding to the above, the integrated framework of social protection programs, basic social protection programs, in line with decentralization policy, promotes increased coordination efforts as reflected, amongst other intentions, through the implementation of single window service system. The single window service intervention is being implemented in Kafue, Mambwe, Lunga, Mungu, Zambia, and in Burungu districts, with a focus to contribute towards enhanced coordination and development of effective referral system at district level, so that beneficiaries receive integrated as opposed to piecemeal services.
Speaking at the same event, First Secretary at the Swedish Embassy in Lusaka, Jonas Wickstrom, says 2018 was a difficult year for the social protection sector, as evidenced by the frozen funding from cooperating partners to the social cash transfer program. And International Labour Organization ILO Technical Officer, Social Security and Disability Inclusion, James Kanonge, has reaffirmed the United Nations family support to government in the implementation of the framework.
This integrated framework also is linking up the essential benefits and transfers that make up the social protection floor with a set of transformative social investments with tangible returns on the health and productivity of their beneficiaries and potentially changing the lives of hundreds of thousands of Zambians. This framework also lays the groundwork for a more efficient use of public resources, improving coordination across various programs and the different parts of government responsible for implementing them, to fill gaps where too many previously had fallen through, and to identify where creating synergies among multiple programs can ultimately have more meaning and more lasting impact.
So in response to this situation, the government of Zambia, with assistance from the Joint UN Programme on Social Protection, supported by the cooperating partners Ireland, UK, Finland and Sweden, in 2016 began to develop the integrated framework of basic social protection programs designed to assist with improving coherency. Now that we have it ready and presented, we can see that the framework addresses many other issues at hand. For instance, its comprehensive mapping of programs and analysis of gaps, its provision of clear definitions of program target plans and coordinated strategies on how to create linkages between and within social protection programs, its elaboration on theory of change linked to the policy on social protection, its structuring of the social protection programs into conceptual categories such as promotion, which is also named the ladder, protection, which is the floor, and transformation.
The UPND says President Edgar Lungu is being malicious to suggest that it is in receipt of CVs from military officers who want to be considered for promotion in the event of regime change. UPND Secretary General Stephen Katuka says it is not true that military personnel from all security wings have been submitting their curriculum vitae to his party. Mr. Katuka states that as Chief Executive Officer of the party, he is not aware of any military officer that has solicited for a promotion in the event that the UPND forms government. He has, however, told Q News that the UPND does not see anything wrong with officers aspiring for senior positions. Mr. Katuka states that his party believes that people should be ambitious in life.
I have no information to that. I'm not aware of anybody who brought this CV. But however, if that is true, people must be ambitious in life. So it is possible people can look at the progressive party that they feel will form the next government and vie for positions in that government. I didn't see anything like that. That's being ambitious, that's all.
The opposition alliance has refuted claims that it wants to sabotage the national dialogue and use it as a gateway to State House. Reacting to allegations made by FDD President Edith Nawakwi, Alliance spokesperson Sean Tembo says the alliance remains consistent that the church should lead the dialogue process as they have no faith in the Zambia Center for Interparty Dialogue, ZCID. Mr. Tembo says the alliance therefore awaits guidance from the three church mother bodies on the next steps. He has advised the political parties and stakeholders that boycotted the previous activities relating to the dialogue to feel free to join the coming meetings.
As Opposition Alliance, we have taken note of the meeting that was held by 4 political parties a few days ago, who included Winter Kavimba, Sakwewa Skota, Edith Nawakwi, and Felix Mutati, in which they made a number of allegations against the Opposition Alliance. Our position, I think, remains consistent, and that is we support the church mother bodies leading this process 100%. And we do not have faith nor confidence in ZCID for reasons that we have stated on various occasions. In terms of the way forward, we believe that the national dialogue process was launched on the 18th of January, and it is an ongoing process. And we are just going to wait for guidance from the church mother bodies in terms of the next steps that need to be undertaken as part of this national dialogue process. Those who stayed away from previous activities of the National Dialogue and Reconciliation process I think they are free to join the process. The door is always open. They should not find an excuse on which to base their absence from this process, because we believe it is a national process, and we believe it is an important process to make sure that the 2021 transition is peaceful and not chaotic.
University of Zambia Unza political science lecturer Professor Bizek Piri says it is not possible for the national dialogue and reconciliation process to influence the change of government. Recently, the three church mother bodies spearheading the national dialogue process have been accused of trying to use the dialogue process to bring about regime change. But Professor Piri has told QTV News that it is not possible for a country to have a change of government influenced by the national dialogue and reconciliation process. Professor Piri says any change of government is as a result of people's desire to do so, owing to developments obtaining in a country. Meanwhile, Professor Piri has advised those spearheading the national dialogue and reconciliation process to desist from resolving their conflicts in public. He says the recent differences that have characterized the dialogue process have the potential to erode public confidence in the process. Professor Piri, however, believes that the squabbles that characterize the dialogue process are normal and do not signify failure of the process.
So, for me, I'm saying what is required when we talk about dialogue, how much dialogue is going on behind the scenes between the three church mother bodies and ZICT. Are they in agreement so that when they come in the public, they are one? But if they are quarreling publicly, how much confidence do they give an ordinary citizen like me? Well, I think the issue is not about this group wanting regime change, this group. The regime change is actually, in most cases, more often than not, is the people on the ground who decide, no, I think enough is enough. We want to change. Now, these bodies, the mother bodies that the church mother bodies were talking about, they are not the ones that actually decide. The people who decide that there should be a change are the voters. So in other words, the Zambians, they might appear to be, sitting back, not doing anything, but they are observing what is happening. Are they happy with the way things are going?
National Council for Construction NCC Executive Director Matthews Ngulube has observed that there is an improvement in the performance of local contractors in the country. Mr. Ngulube says the council is happy with the works being done by local contractors. He has told QTV News in an interview that in the past, most local contractors were failing to take advantage of government initiatives to empower them through various contracts. Mr. Ngulube has urged local contractors to improve their workmanship in view of government's plans to adjust upwards the subcontracting policy from 20 to 30%.
For local contractors, our appeal is that they should just be ready when now this thing is fully operational. We expect a lot of work that comes their way, and that also comes with the contractors being ready in terms of capacity, financial capacity, in terms of equipment and things like that. So they should just be ready and prepared to get involved in most of these projects. For local contractors,
the Federation of Free Trade Unions of Zambia, FETUZ, has welcomed the recent directive by Labour and Social Security Minister Joyce Simkoko to shop owners who have not effected the revised minimum wage to pay their workers in arrears. Union President Chingati Msiska has urged Labour inspectors to impose tougher penalties on companies paying workers below the revised minimum wage. Mr. Msiska says it is a criminal offence not to pay the minimum wage. He has told QTV News that it is shocking that some employers are still skirting around the law by not paying their workers the minimum wage. Mr. Msiska has encouraged Ministry of Labour inspectors to come up with a program aimed at monitoring compliance to the revised minimum wage across the country.
The concern raised yesterday and by the tours of the Ministry of Labour and Social Security and their team, I think those are serious concerns, because basically you'd find that the employers are not paying according to the minimum wage. And what is it that we are doing as a country? And even us as workers, I think we should wake up. It's high time we had reason to see to it that whatever is not for us is reported to the rightful officers, and also using the right channel. So that I think we support, and we want to aid the employers that are living with within the minimum, who are paying not according to the minimum wage, to change their position, because this is not the way to go. This is very sad. And also, we want to believe that the Minister of Labour and Social Security has enough inspectors that are going to go around, because it's not just here in Lusaka, it's all over the country. This is a country problem, and the employers are doing it with impunity. So we can't allow. We want to condemn all and every employer that are still paying below the minimum wage. And we want, like has already been pronounced by the minister, let the law take its course. We have to sort out these employers. We can't allow a situation where people are just doing it carelessly, abrogating the laws. We are not going to allow it, and we support that move. Let it continue and let it be done all over the country.
Mandevu's Raphael Chota Ward 22 Councillor Joseph Tamba has pledged to develop his area through locally sources funded. Mr. Tamba says he intends to modernize the Chipata compound market using his own funds with the help and contribution from the residents. He has noted the need not to always depend on resources from government for development to take place. Mr. Tamba has since disclosed that using his own resources and funds generated through community initiatives, he has so far put up a borehole, mounted a tank, built a market shelter, and built communal toilets at Chipata Market. We have more in this report.
In most cases, development in any ward or constituency is dependent on government or donor funding. But the situation in Raphael Chota ward of Mandevu constituency is different, as the ward councillor has taken it upon himself to raise funds through various initiatives in partnership with the community to ensure for the development in the area. Councillor Joseph Tamba has put up this borehole at the Chipata market, which is currently providing clean and running water to the marketeers and residents in the nearby area.
The current committee, we are giving order to the community from the markets.
Using locally generated funds, the marketeers headed by Councillor Tamba have also built these communal modern toilets and showers within a period of 2 years.
Let me say thank you to the committee, because this is your third year. In your third year, you have achieved a lot. As I'm talking to you right now, we have got a bore, and you have installed a tank, a submersible pump, and you are also giving water to the community, not free, but they are paying. From the same levies from which you are levying from the water is the one which now, from the water and the levies from the market, we have constructed this toilet, costing us 82,000 plus for 2 years. So I can rest assure the community that let's utilize this facility. Nikambe muchinyanja ndabati na bantu batu bamukomboni bakaona pativi ngati sibanamvesese chizungu chizabapita. Nilikukamba kuti itoilet yamene tamanga muno mchipata compound kusebenza ndrama zatu za market osati za boma tapeka muno tipanga ndalama no manga itoilet ngati mulibe toilet pafupi apa bwelani mungene muno nikulipira mwalipira mwasebenza sa toilet olo kusamba mukaona kuti manzi kulibe muno manzi siyasira muno mchipata market mukaona lo manzi toy bathing yanu itasiri bwino siyani pa nyumba pano wabwancha pena kasopo na karitao bwerani mulipire muno musambe.
Mr. Tamba has also worked with the marketeers to construct this market shelter, which is the first ever in the area.
As I'm talking to you right now, the shelter is here and the marketeers, they are selling in the same shelter, but I'm a little bit disappointed that the marketeers, they don't want to utilize the shelter. We have got about 52 stands, of which we have got only 8 marketeers who are trading within the shelter, which is very, very disappointed. But nevertheless, we are the leaders, we are going to find solution how we can allow them to come inside so that they can start trading in the same markets.
The marketeers spoken to are happy, especially with the construction of the toilets.
Ukufyara muno mwini abana natukwata nefisi kudu nefisi kudurwa tapata rapa kitike kya musango.
It is hoped that councillors will adopt such practices of using locally generated revenue to ensure development in their areas. Nakaonga reporting.
To end the news, we take a look at stories making headlines once again. The Anti-Corruption Commission has arrested Housing and Infrastructure Development Minister Ronald Chitotela for corruption. Britain has reinstated health funding to Zambia in recognition of financial reforms that have been put in place by government. And Health Minister Chitalo Chilufya says the National Health Insurance Scheme will be operational within the first quarter of 2019. On that note, we come to the end of the news. From me, Diana Sumbwe, thank you for watching.